Uh, Excuse the noise if you can hear the background noise. That's the 3D printer going, and the reason the 3D printer is going is because I'm now making a bow to fit the magazine. So what we've got then is the idea is this will just push straight in to the top of the bow, and in doing so it will pull these two sliders back. The sliders are on a ramp, and the arrows will then be pushed down by two internal arms, front and back. So essentially click in and off we go. Now hopefully it'll work. The only slight flaw with this has been that they're just bowing in slightly, and I only had a millimetre clearance, so if there's more than a millimetre bowing, it could well stick a little bit. Anyway, this first effort, not too bad. The other problem I'm going to have is that when the string comes through on the last pass, this one's going to get snapped off. So what I shall have to do is put some end stops on here, just so I can use a screw just to set an end stop and be able to adjust it so I get the last arrow but no more. Anyway, so yeah, not a bad item for a, well, sort of first-ish attempt. It's quite thin, but not thin enough. That's been the problem with the previous efforts. So essentially you're looking at a profile with the ramp here, and you've got a little triangle there so you can push it in, and inside the main casing there's a recess, so you've got the line there on the near side, and then on the far side of the outside case there's a lip, and then there's a recess, so that just allows this triangular part to slide up and down. And then at the top of the recess it goes tight again, so that this then guides and acts as a bit of a spring return. So the ramp, it's a 45-degree ramp, so the idea is then that as you push it up, it'll just push this out. It's 1.5 millimeters, but maybe it needs to be thinner. I was a little bit torn really between what sort of force I'd have on the arrow that would be pushing out just while it was static, versus when you push it up how much it would flex. So I think the balance it's okay. It probably do with being 1 millimeter rather than 1.5 millimeters. That might do it. Not quite sure really. Anyway, so loading wise, if you draw the two fingers back, I'll just click that one in there. It's triangular because it goes straight in and won't come out. I pulled it out, that was quite tricky pulling that out. Anyway, so take the elastic band off is the best way. Recess the arms so that they're more or less flush, not entirely flush. I've done these with, they were sort of semicircles, and then I've cut on the CAD, cut a cylinder and then rotated the cylinder around, just so the arrows tend to hold its centre and it doesn't slip off, particularly the one at the back, which has got all that extra width to play with. So they're 3 millimeters wide, and then you've got a 3 millimeter extra thickness. So these are identical. This is just rotated and they fit nice. And then a 4 millimeter hole just to be able to have the pivot point. I've done it as two separate parts so that I could mess about with this and also mess about with that separately, rather than having to keep printing big units over and over. But I have had a bit of a lift on the printer, which was on. This was printed this way up. Then you don't need to use any supports for any of this business, because internal supports in that little slot will just ruin it. So drop the arrows in. Hopefully the fletching, the flights will click it up. Oop, is that one gone up? Yes, but that one's gone too far. There we go. So that's pretty well held. Put the elastic band over the top. And as we were. Hopefully those are pretty much right. If not, then the idea is that that will slot onto the original bow's base, and then I've made a cutout just slightly above that, so that the original bow, the mechanism is exactly the same. This does not become part of the mechanism because the fletching will just catch, so the arrow is going to drop down a bit, and then this has got a stop internally so that it'll drop in and stay there. Hopefully it may pull out because I've made the clearances on that box fairly generous. I don't have to print things twice, so I can always just put a bit of pad, a bit of tape, whatever, just to try and make up a bit of slack if it does drop out. But I've tapered these as well, so you've got a bit more of a chance to get it in rather than having to fiddle around to the last millimetre. So that's like a 2mm taper all round. Hopefully that'll be alright. Anyway, what's printed now is the bow body, or at least half of it. 14 hours a side, bloody unbelievable. But they should be alright, so let's hope it's alright anyway. Otherwise that's 14 hours one side wasted, and I probably won't find out until I've done the other side. So there you go. Watch this space. We shall get the whole thing sorted at some point. And I'll might reprint this, or I might just glue something on, just as it's this particular one. I don't know if it's worth holding the band stable in the middle, or whether just to let them oppose. Yeah, time will tell. The problem I had with the shoot rate off the original bow is because I only had a rear retainer, and this part wasn't pushing the arrow up, so the arrow was essentially digging into here, so yeah, that caused the misfire. Anyway, we shall see. I'll have another test when I get everything printed, and I'll stick another video up once I've had a go at it. Right, have a good week.